the presence of God is in this place today. So, if you remember a few weeks back, we defined a mystic as someone who believes in spiritual truths that are beyond sometimes the human intellect, the human ability to see and to experience them purely through our senses. And that mystic is one who commits themselves to look beyond the appearances and try and discover these truths for themselves. We've been exploring different ways that mystics of the past have found, have discovered, have been able to embrace these truths that sometimes are difficult to understand from our day to day perspectives. They've done this in order to tap into what I would call God mind, in order to tap into that which is eternal. Richard Rohr wrote the book, What the Mystics Know, and he had done research to try and understand what those of the past have been able to accomplish and the ways that they did it so that we too can take that same journey. Today, we're going to contemplate how we can celebrate the deep paradoxes of our life. Let's look at this short video because just to refresh our own minds and also to make sure some of our younger kids understand what I mean when I say paradox. That might not be something that you've learned yet, so you're going to learn something new today. So watch this video with us.
Hi, I'm Jen DeMoore for About.com, and this video is all about paradoxes. A paradox is a statement, a concept, a situation, a person, or anything that seems contradictory or defies logic. The most commonly recognized paradoxes are in the form of a statement that appears to be absurd, like the liar paradox, which is, this sentence is false. What makes this a paradox? Well, if the sentence is false, then it's not true, which means that the sentence must be true, but it can't be because if it was true, then it would be false. This statement defies logic, it contradicts itself, it's a paradox. Another example is the Socratic paradox that says, I know that I know nothing at all. This is a paradox because if you know nothing, then you can't know that you know nothing. You'll find many paradoxes in math and the sciences from biology to thermodynamics, like the irresistible force paradox, that is, what would happen if an unstoppable force hit an immovable object? There are also many paradoxes in philosophy, like the old, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Mahatma Gandhi has said, whatever you do will be insignificant, but it is very important that you do it. This is also a paradox. You may see documents with the intentionally blank page paradox, which is a page that contains the text. This page is intentionally left blank. Obviously, the text on the page keeps it from really being blank. That's a paradox. From the highly conceptual philosophies to the quirky comedic notes, paradoxes are everywhere. Thanks for watching. To learn more, visit us on the web at About.com.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a good way to try and understand something that we grapple with. How can these two seemingly opposite things both be true at the same time? But what the mystics will tell you is that's where God is found. God is right there in the midst, beyond what our logic would inform us about. It's it's a call to move beyond the human mind. You know, the human mind is like a computer and it operates on this place of duality. It's either yes or no, right or wrong, up or down, hot or cold. It's either or mode. And the paradox invites you to come into, and I know you hear this all the time from me, this both and mode. This place where both of these things can seemingly be true at the very same time. You know, we grapple with this idea that God, the creator of all, is both infinite and finite, is both law and principle and also very personal. How can both of those things be true at the same time? And yet, if we allow ourselves, we can experience that in both of those forms. We have a God who is in charge, yet chooses not to be in control at all. That one may or may not resonate with you. That's one of the statements that Richard Rohr makes. And as I said before, you may not agree with every statement that he makes. And yet, it's a call for you to go deeper to get clear about what it is that resonates with you. Likely, the biggest paradox that we deal with is this one that we call life and death. It's certainly the most challenging for us in this human state. When our bodies die, are we still alive? How can both of these be true? You know, Jesus often uses parables to try and explain things that are difficult for us to grasp in our intellect. He would use examples to help describe how something might be. So I thought this morning, since we're doing things a little differently, I was going to create a parable of my own. And I call this the parable of change. And you get to play along in this parable with me. So it goes like this. The kingdom of heaven is like a piece of chocolate. Does everyone have their piece of chocolate in here? If you don't have one, raise your hand. Maybe somebody can bring you one. Oh, Gladys, yep. Let's see. There's a couple up here. So as we get our chocolate together, or you at home, if you don't have a little Hershey's Kiss like this, go raid your Halloween candy that you've got prepared for tomorrow. The kids will never know that you took a piece of it. So the kingdom of heaven is like this piece of chocolate. When we look at it, when we feel it, it feels solid. Yes? It has a solid form to it. When you open it and look at it, it is a solid piece of brown yumminess. Now, when you take a bite of it, and now you can really eat this. When you take a bite of it, and it's hard to bite into, but just let it roll around in your mouth for a minute. Let it just kind of melt on your tongue a little bit. And it's no longer solid. It becomes a liquid. It's still chocolate, still tastes like chocolate. It has simply changed form. And that, I believe, is exactly what happens when our bodies die. The soul that was occupying the body simply changes form, is no longer a part of the human form, and is now in its spiritual form and lives in the world of all of the spiritual realm. That's really good. You know, Halloween in the United States is all about spooky stuff. That's the way it's kind of evolved in our country. And, of course, about getting candy, at least from the children's perspective. And yet, this celebration began long ago in many other cultures. And in the Hispanic culture, it is known as Dia de los Muertos. I don't think I said that right, but I was close. Or in English, what we would call Day of the Dead. They believed that this time of year, on the Day of the Dead, the day that they celebrated, the thin veil between the spirit world and the human world dissolves. And during this brief period of time, the souls that are now in the spirit world can return and participate and have a day of celebration with their loved ones still here on earth. During this time, they invite all of those loved ones to return. They have a big feast. They set up an altar. They put the pictures of the loved ones on the table. They light a candle to celebrate those loved ones present with them. They have flowers and delicious food to share with those in the spirit world. They treat those who have moved beyond this human veil as honored guests for their celebration of that day. The tradition has become more a part of our popular culture via the movie Coco. I don't know how many of you seen it. Disney put it out. It's a great movie. I love it. You know, in Unity, we believe it's possible to continue to connect with our loved ones in the spirit world. That we can navigate this paradox of different forms. And that we can, through the energy of our beings, the energy of our love in our hearts, the energy of bringing them into our awareness, we can still continue to have that connection with them, albeit a little bit different. You know, one of the things that I've discovered as I've navigated the loss of loved ones is that initially it's really, really difficult because we long for. What did Richard Rohr say? The thing that usually keeps us in resistance and not being willing to forgive is because we are tied to wanting things to be different than the reality of what they are. And I think the early grieving process, that's what a lot of us go through. We want things to be different than the way that they are. But I've also discovered that over time, we come to greater and greater acceptance of that, and it moves us out of that place where we are in that deep state of sadness and loss to a place where we can actually begin to smile as we remember. We can replace that with joy and knowing that that connection, albeit different, is not lost. So in our meditation time today, we are going to each come up and light a candle for someone, whether it be a four-legged friend or a two-legged friend or a no-legged friend or an eight-legged friend, because some people love their creepy crawler things that have more than legs. They're just as dear to them. I don't get it, but you know, I'm not here to judge. And just know that if this has been a more recent adjustment that you're making, tears might flow. And if it's something that you have lived with for a while, you might be able to simply focus on feeling this energy of love exchange between you and those loved ones. So in a few moments, the ushers are going to invite you to come up, just like we do for our offering, row by row. We're going to start back and come forward. There's enough space for 2 people at a time to be doing this. And we just invite you to come up and to light a candle in their honor and memory, and allow this time to be one where you can truly feel that connection, where this is the day where you remember and honor all of those who are now in the spirit world. And be in that contemplation as you return to your seat of how this can be true. Allow yourself to move into the mystery that paradox invites us into, and suspend logic for just a little while and see if you can't also notice that veil thinning, and that even though it's different, there is that same deep connection present between you and your loved ones during this time where we remember.
Remember me, though I have to say goodbye. Remember me, don't let it make you cry. For even if I'm far away, I hold you in my heart. I sing a secret song to you each night we are apart. Remember me, though I have to travel far.
the energy so much richer in this sanctuary, in the homes of the people who are watching with us as we remember those that we love. And as we celebrate this fun of Halloween, may we also remember and celebrate and allow them to be alive in our hearts, the ones that we treasure both here on this earthly plane right now and those that are in spirit. So I want to leave you with a deep paradox to contemplate this week. Richard Rohr writes this. He says, God saves humanity not by punishing it, rather by restoring it. We overcome our sin, our mistakes, not by a frontal and heroic attack, rather by a humble letting go that at first always feels like losing. You know, Christianity is probably the only religion in the world that teaches us from the very cross how to win by losing. How is it that we can have this experience where we've had to let go of all control, we've had to let go of how things unfold, we've had to let go of what people do and say and how they treat us, and yet, in the end, that's what was demonstrated of how we win. It's always a hard sell, especially for people who, and in our society, that's into strength, that's into domination, that we're taught that winning is the optimal way that we succeed. God's restorative justice is much more patient, and finally, much, much more transformative than a mere coercive obedience. So the question I ask you to contemplate this week is, how can I win when it seems like what I'm being called to do means and appears that I will lose? Knowing that when we act in love, we will always win, even when it feels like we're losing. We remember, we celebrate, and we offer this special music today to remind us that we are here to celebrate and to be proud of the heart that guides us each and every step of the way. Short but sweet and to the point. Well, it is our opportunity now to share of our financial good with this ministry. It is through your gifts and tithes that we do all that we can do to continue to inspire spiritual growth in our community as well as the greater community here. So today, since we've got our lovely altar up here, the ushers are going to be passing the baskets around in the old traditional way of offering. So as it comes by, you can simply place your gift in it, or again, just like we do on other Sundays, just add your energy to it, add a card that says I give committed through the committed giving program, or just simply place your hand over the basket. And we want you to have an affirmation this week, so at the back of each of the doors, the little basket of affirmations are there, and you can pick one up on your way out. So let us join together as we hold these gifts that we offer to the good of God in our hands and in our hearts, and bless them together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God. Ready? Let's all stand, and we're going to join hands, and we're going to sing the peace song.
We
as we go into this day, into this week, remembering that nothing dies away, it only changes form. We go knowing our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Join us in Fellowship Hall for a few little treats, and don't forget, if you brought a picture, to bring them back with you. Have a beautiful, wonderful week.